The third trumpet is about to sound. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters, because they were made bitter. Now the futurists tell us that this star called Wormwood is a giant asteroid that will strike the earth after we've all flown away. The meteor strike will devastate the earth and so on. Well, that's just pure nonsense. They picked their theories out of the clear blue sky, pardon the pun, and they don't have to prove any of it. First of all, we've already learned that we're not flying away from tribulation. Secondly, why is the term wormwood used, and what is the symbolism of the waters? Wormwood means bitterness, misery, anguish, agony, etc. He hath filled me with bitterness, he hath made me drunk with wormwood. Remembering mine affliction, and my misery, the wormwood and the gall. When we see the beast of Revelation 13 coming forth from the seas, is that literal? Are we going to be standing on a beach somewhere anticipating this amphibian-type beast making its way to shore? Certainly not. The waters in biblical prophecy means people. There are verses that connect the phrases out of the tribe of and out of the waters of, utilizing the same Hebrew prefixes and keywords. So let's take a quick look. Hear ye this, O house of Jacob, which are called by the name of Israel, and are come forth out of the waters of Judah, which swear by the name of the Lord, and make mention of the God of Israel, but not in truth, nor in righteousness. In the next verse, the same Hebrew word is translated as, quote unquote, from the bowels of. The Lord hath called me from the womb. From the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name. Regardless of the correct reading, it is evident that the phrases have a natural overlap in meaning. They are similar concepts that go hand in hand. The bowels represent the watery part of a person, such as the woman's womb. By thee have I been holden up from the womb. Thou art he that took me out of my mother's bowels. My praise shall be continually of thee. So we establish that the waters spoken here are not global waters being struck by an asteroid somewhere out in the future. In the past video, we used the correct laws of interpreting scriptures and discovered that a falling star is a great person or leader. Now when I say great, I don't necessarily mean good. Hitler and Stalin were horrible people, but they were great leaders of men. So in this time period following Alaric and the Vandals, was there a great leader who struck the waters or peoples of the Roman Empire which caused great anguish, misery, and agony? There was. There's a new character coming onto the scene, and I'm sure you've heard the name. He is the epitome of a warlike savage barbarian. The Huns arrived in southeastern Europe in around 370 A.D. The Roman historian Ammianus described them as wild, hideous barbarians who ate raw meat and did everything on horseback, even sleep. They were divided into independent groups called hordes, which apparently had their own chieftains. It is generally believed that the Huns did not have a king at this particular time in history. The savage hordes swarmed towards the Roman Empire, conquering other barbarian civilizations along the way. When they invaded the huge empire of the Ostrogoths, known as the Goths of the East, its king killed himself because he couldn't stand up to the Huns. Next the Huns attacked the Visigoths, known as the Goths of the West, most of whom fled to the Roman Empire for protection. But the Visigoths and Romans didn't make good allies at all. The Visigoths settled in Roman territory, but remained unfriendly to Rome. The vast migration of these refugees fleeing the Huns hastened the fall of the Roman Empire. After taking over the lands of the Ostrogoths, Visigoths, and other Germanic tribes, the Huns moved into the Eastern Roman Empire. In return for peace, the Romans began paying a huge tribute to the Huns. The Huns were united under a single king, but when he died, Attila and his brother inherited the huge empire. They demanded additional tribute from the Romans. The Romans agreed, but apparently did not pay all they had promised, so Attila attacked them, mercilessly destroying city after city. The 18th century historian Edward Gibbon wrote in his book, The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, the whole breadth of Europe, as it extended across 500 miles from the Euxine to the Hadriatic, was at once invaded, and occupied and desolated by the myriads of barbarians whom Attila led into the field. Suddenly the Romans decided it would be a good idea to give Attila as much money as he wanted. No wonder the merciless Attila was called the Scourge of God. Ironically, this is exactly who he was. As we've seen time and time again, God uses these pagan systems as tools of his divine retributive judgments. Even Attila's older brother paid the price of getting in Attila's way. Attila murdered him in 445, and from that time on, Attila alone ruled the Hun Empire. What about the rivers and fountains mentioned in verse 10? Does this have any connection to what we're discovering? It certainly does. Attila first laid waste the valley of the upper Danube River and penetrated as far as the Rhine River and into Belgium, which is home of over 40 rivers today. The Huns moved across the Alps into northern Italy, the fertile valley of the river Po, leaving behind them a path of bloodshed and destruction. Once again, Attila fell like a shooting star on rivers and fountains and the sources of rivers of this western third of the Roman Empire. Attila continued to behave like the true Hun he was, invading Roman provinces and extorting more tribute in return for peace. The Romans were understandably terrified by this seemingly invincible barbarian king. They destroyed all the important cities, not even sparing the imperial city of Milan. Attila's march to conquer all of the empire came to an abrupt stop. Attila died on his wedding night after getting intoxicated and choking to death on his own blood. Through God's word, we are witnessing the attack and breaking apart of the old Roman Empire. But just as the dreadful vision of Daniel 2's image shows us, there was not a single empire to take the place of the Fourth Empire. Instead, we see the fracturing of the legs of iron into feet and toes of clay and iron. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. The fourth trumpet is about to sound.